Hey guys, Max here for slurv.com and let's talk the Wednesday split slate today. I hope you all had a good night last night. Toronto sure didn't do us any favors. But hey, my sneaky Padres stack scored 10 runs at like 1% ownership. So I hope you at least made a little bit of money due to that. So as I mentioned today, we have 7 early and 8 late games. So let's jump right in. So sometimes all the pitching gets clumped into the early slate, and that is what we have happening today. Thor, Arrieta, Shoemaker, McCullers, Conley, and Duffy are all in the afternoon slate, while that leaves, no one for the late slate, pretty much. So let's break down pitching in the afternoon. I think we have Thor, Arrieta, McCullers, and Conley as the safe cash game options, while Duffy and Shoemaker provide the GPP upside. I think I'm going Thor Duffy or Shoemaker Duffy in my GPPs, as it lets me fit in the bats that I like today. So on to those aforementioned bats. Robbie Ray has good stuff. He throws hard, has a 10.1% swinging strike rate, and when people swing at his out of the zone stuff, they only make contact 58.8% of the time. Unfortunately for him, he gets a really, really bad matchup. Don't let yesterday's game fool you. Toronto mashes lefties, and Ray has an astronomically high 39.6% hard hit rate versus right-handers. This is also coupled with an 11.3% walk rate, leads to big innings and him being out of the game pretty quickly. Again, baseball variants, weird things can happen, but I am back on the Blue Jays bandwagon again today. My favorite way to attack the Toronto game is to stack the whole thing, as I expect both teams to be popular for offense, but I don't necessarily expect many people to have both of the teams on the same roster. So this brings me to J. Happ. Happ is your average left-handed pitcher. Righties hit him hard, but that has only accounted for 250 BABIP on almost 52% medium and 32% hard hit contact, which makes me think his BABIP should really be going up. Um, so I think regression could actually start at any moment, and it could be today, because Toronto is a great hitter's park. So I think we can couple the Zona bats along with the Toronto bats, or you could take either stack on its own. So where else can we look for bats, you ask? My answer is the Cubs. The Cubs are one of the best offenses in the league, and I think they go overlooked today against Waka and his perceived not awfulness. All you have to do is look at his numbers versus lefty to make you run to your computer and click a bunch of Cubs lefties into your lineups. Only 18.6% strikeout rate to lefties, 8.6% walk rate, and 34.7% hard hit rate, with like a crazy astronomical 29.3% line drive rate. I mean, that could not be sustainable, but I don't know, maybe he's just that bad. Anyway, I think it can get blown up here pretty easily, and I expect the Cubs to be low owned. So let's go to Oakland. It's not a great park for hitters, not a great lineup for the A's, but Guerra gives up hard hit rates of 38 and 39% to both sides of the plate, and somehow his BABIP is in the mid 200s. Again, not sustainable. So I like Oakland lefties more today, but I don't mind some righties with pop either, as his fly ball rate is 42% versus righties. So he gives up a bunch of those, and some of them could go out of the yard. I don't think I'm going to stack Oakland, as those fly balls could just as easily turn into warning track fly balls, which is just something you get with fly ball pitchers sometimes. So I don't think a stack is worth it here, but I'm going to target some home run upside for sure. So who's Daniel Mengen other than a dude with an awesome mustache? No idea. But what I do know is he wasn't that great at striking people out in the minors and somehow has a 12.3% swinging strike rate in his two starts in the majors. This should decrease. And I think if Milwaukee can stay patient against him, they could draw a bunch of walks and have some big innings. So I think you can definitely play a Milwaukee stack here in the early slate at pretty low ownership. Okay, guys, on to the night slate, where I am going to try to be a bit more brief due to the fact that we have an expert chat at 5 p.m. today, and we're going to definitely go in depth there. So Eddie Rodriguez is the first guy I want to talk about. He can't get anyone out right now, which is good for the White Sox because pretty much everyone has been able to get them out so far this year. Anyway, I think the White Sox put up a pretty good number today at Fenway, and I don't expect their ownership to be high today. On the other side, we have the Red Sox, who I just want to briefly mention, as they've been letting people down left and right so far. Quintana is due for a bit of regression, so I do expect his numbers to come down as the season goes along, and that could start against the Red Sox today. I think their stack is going to be low owned, and I think they, as they have shown many times this year, can go off for a big number. So I'm going to say something here, and I want you guys to bear with me. Eric Johnson is not a good major league pitcher. There, I said it. He has an xFIP of 6.47 to righties, 4.41 to lefties, 13.7% walk to righties, and almost 50% hard contact to lefties, um, inducing way too many fly balls to leave a park like Camden Yards unscathed. I think you can look at his career numbers, even though he hasn't pitched that much this year, so you may think that those numbers are elevated. His career numbers don't look anything better. Yeah, that 50% hard contact rate, which is astronomical, goes down to 35%, but that is still too high. So I'm going to roster a ton of Orioles today, and I'm not going to look back. Yes, the baseball variance thing can happen at any moment, but I'm going to take my chances here. So yesterday, my best team was a stack of Baltimore and San Diego, and I think today may be the same thing. Ubaldo's a bit better than his numbers have shown, but he can still get blown up here pretty easily. He's better targeted with lefties, but the Padres just don't have many of those. So I'm just going to take as many good bats as I can against him, whether they're righties or lefties. Dan Straley gives up too many fly balls to lefties and righties, but he limits damage by inducing only 26.7 hard hit rate to lefties, which is pretty elite actually. He also has a very respectable 26.2% K rate to righties, excuse me, which also limits damage. So I expect the Rangers to be popular today, but I think I'm going to fade a full stack and just pick some high upside lefties here, hoping for a few home runs. So the big question today for me is, will Minnesota start hitting lefties better? I have no clue. I've rostered them way too much this year against left-handers, and my bankroll would look way better right now if I have not. I have no idea what I'm going to do with Minnesota and Morgan today. Morgan has been pretty good at striking people out so far this year, especially in the last two starts, but he's still giving up way too many home runs and fly balls. So I do think a Minnesota stack is going to be over-owned today. So I think I'm just going to target some high upside home run guys like Plouffe, Dozier, and Nunez, and leave a full stack for others. Last but not least, I think the Detroit game gets overlooked today. I don't think either of these pitchers fare really well against their opponents. I'm not sure either is going to get blown up, as they're pretty good, but I think you can target these stacks here as really low owned sources of high upside. So let's jump right into Iwakuma. It doesn't get blown up too often, and the numbers of his success so far are spurred by a 243 BABIP on a 29.7% hard hit rate versus left-handed batters, but the versus righties. I'm sorry, But these are the Tigers we're talking about, and they can get to anybody. So I think if I'm going to go Tigers today, as I said, I would go for a full stack. On the other side, we have Seattle um, that can also get the Fulmer. He's much better against righties, and Seattle should be able to throw 7 lefties against him today. His 15.5% K rate and 11.7% walk rate versus lefties is no bueno. So this amounts to an xFIP of like 5.14, which is just not good. He's mitigated damage thanks to a unsustainable 0.00% fly ball to home run to fly ball rate. So I think Seattle stack definitely could go off today if some of those fly balls finally turn into home runs. That's all for me, folks. I hope you got some good tidbits out of this. As always, I will be in the chat throughout the day, so ask your questions there. And as I mentioned previously, we have an expert chat at 5 p.m. today, so jump in for all the analysis you may want. All right, guys, good luck, and I will talk to you later. Peace.